FC25 Realism sliders and settings. Now the sliders, settings, and gameplay you see in this video final title update 4 of FC25, and they are meant to make the game a little bit slower, more realistic, fun, but also a bit challenging. So I hope you guys do go on to enjoy them. Drop a like on this video and subscribe as well to make sure you don't miss any other content on the channel. To those who have joined as members, I greatly appreciate your guys' support. If you want to get this video as soon as it is done on launch day, make sure to hit that join button and to be a member. Now, one of the main additions to this update is Ipswich Town's stadium is now in the game. So to those who play the Premier League and play career mode, all the teams in the Premier League now have their stadiums. There are tons of gameplay fixes and tons of career mode bug fixes that I have seen, and I have read the pitch notes as well, but I'm not going to bore you guys with all of that stuff. I know you guys are just here for the sliders and the settings, so let's just get straight into it. I'm going to start off by showing the game settings first, then the sliders a bit later. That's because people usually neglect this part of the video. They don't think the settings are important, but trust me, they are just as important as the sliders. Now, these are the settings I'm using. Some of them you guys can adjust to yourselves. You'll see there, through pass for me is on manual, because I want it to be more challenging to get the through balls in there and to create the chances. If you guys find it too difficult, have it on semi. I have ground passing on semi. If you find it too easy, have it on manual. This is where you guys can play around with it more rather than just increasing difficulty every single time. Play around with the game settings, find what is most challenging for you and explore that, but also give it a chance. Right now, I'm kind of playing between manual and assisted jockeying, right? Just because of the way the game is now, I've really struggled to defend 1v1 situations against players that are dribbling. The AI right now are dribbling so much more, and they're using so many more skill moves to a point where it's a bit unrealistic. But here's one thing I always say, and if you guys have seen my videos, you'll know I say this every single time. EA don't know how to make a game both challenging and realistic. The more challenging it gets, the more it loses realism. And this update has increased the difficulty. It has made the game more challenging. However, it's made it a bit less realistic as well. So that's why right now I'm going to switch to assisted jockeying, just because of how ridiculous the skill moves are, especially at like legendary and ultimate difficulties. Now, in terms of difficulties, I play with world class, legendary, and ultimate. I've broken it down many times in terms of how exactly I do that. I'm sure you guys have seen that in the past. But again, if you're currently on world class, before you jump to legendary, play around with the game settings, make a few things more manual, make a few things more difficult before you jump to the next level. Similarly, if you're on legendary, before you go to ultimate, play around with the settings. And if you're on ultimate, definitely play around with the settings, because if you found ultimate easy, then yeah, I can't help you. Now for the sliders, of course, custom gameplay type, weather effect medium and weather effect on. Okay, now sprint speed is on 35 for both CPU and user. Acceleration is on 49. Those don't change at all. Although I say this, the gameplay feels a bit slower after title update 4, but in a positive way. Definitely in a positive way, at least for me. Some may find it a bit sluggish, but there were moments in title update 3 where I thought the game was still a bit too quick, but if I reduce the acceleration especially, it'll be a bit too slow. But right now I like the pace of the game. We then have shot error on 62 for the user, and it's on 56 for the CPU. So that means the CPU has an advantage in the shooting, and they also have an advantage in the passing as well, as the pass error for the user is up to 74, but the CPU's pass error is on 64. This again will contribute to making the game more difficult and to giving you a disadvantage in certain situations. The shot speed is on 46 for the user, and it's on 45 for the CPU, and this is because the shots from the CPU are normally just thunderbolts that blast past your goalkeeper before they can even react, especially at the near post. So we have reduced that slightly. The pass speed for the user is on 46, and the pass speed for the CPU is on 40. You'll see when it comes to the speed, the CPU just generally have faster reactions, so we try to slow that down to make it a bit more fair and a bit more realistic as well. So the pass speed for the CPU is down to 40. Injury frequency for both the user and CPU is up to 75 to get more injuries, especially in career mode. And then injury severity is on 33 for both the user and the CPU. I've been tempted to increase this a bit more, but especially in my current Fenerbahce career mode, we've been having a few 2-month, 3-month, 4-week injuries, which is a good variety to have. But yeah, definitely won't be increasing the severity, or else we're just going to keep getting ACLs. The goalkeeper ability stays the same on 59 for both user and CPU, and then the marking is on 64 for the user and 66 for the CPU, so give it a bit of advantage to mark you a bit tighter and to make it more difficult for you to create chances. Run frequency remains on 38 for both. We have the line height on 60, line length on 36, and the line width is on 48. Fullback positioning again stays the same on 80. So most of the positioning stuff have not changed. I haven't seen a need to change it, although one of the notes in the pitch note is that they've changed the positioning of the defensive midfielder. So defensive midfielders will push up a bit higher on the field. They won't necessarily just sit right on the toes of the defense, but there's no need to change any of the positioning. Sliders and then power bar, down to personal preference, but for me, I have it on 50. And then we have first touch control era, where the user is on 14, but the CPU is up all the way to 65, because I noticed one of the most annoying things for me in FC24 was how you could just never win the ball. Even when you put in a tackle, even when your defender touches the ball never bounces your way. And one of the sliders that determine that is first touch control era. And yeah, we've increased the era of the CPU even higher just to make things a bit more fair and a bit more balanced. But even now, man, at the higher levels, at legendary and especially in ultimate, you can put in a tackle and a tackle and a tackle, and the CPU will just find a way to still have the ball and it'll ricochet and bounce back to you. But then if you increase it any further, you give yourself too much of an advantage. So it's one of those sliders that just aren't perfect. And as for the AI behavior, this is where you have to make another choice. Do you want the game to be challenging, or do you want it to be realistic? I have it on tactical, and tactical for me is the best balance. If you want the most challenging one, go to dynamic, because you never know what you're going to get from your opponents, right? If you want the most realistic one, go to custom. And in the first slider video I did in FC25, it's in the link below, so check that out. I show the values of what I would use to make this most realistic. The problem though is it gets a bit predictable, it gets a bit repetitive, and most teams play a similar way, not the exact same, but a similar way, where you can kind of figure out how to stop them. Of course, if they're of a higher quality than you, they can still be a daunting opponent. However, it gets a bit predictable in terms of how they're going to set up. Tactical is the one that's kind of in the middle. You know, teams play as to how their tactics say. So in career mode, if you come up against a team that play tiki-taka, you know you're going to struggle to get with the ball. They're going to build up slowly and stuff like that. So I'd recommend tactical to get the best of both worlds, but then again, this is where you guys have to make that decision. Now, in terms of my overall thoughts on this update, I'd say it's not too different from Title Update 3. I'd say this was mainly made to fix the bugs that exist in the game, to make sure the game runs smoothly and to eliminate all the problems, right? The gameplay changes, not too many. There are a few, and there are some positives and some negatives. On the positive side, I'd say the game is slower. I'd say it has a more realistic pace about it. But then on the negative side, I'd say the dribbling is a bit more unrealistic. The skill moves are a bit more excessive. Now, to those who want a challenge, that may be a good thing, but to us who prioritize realism, not so much. There's always a case of you give and you take with EA, and even with the updates, you lose a few positives, you gain a few positives. But I'd say overall, the game is okay. It's okay. It definitely takes some adapting now. The sliders will definitely take some adapting. I can definitely say that you guys may find it a bit more difficult to defend, especially if you guys are using like manual jockeying, right? And you play it like ultimate difficulty. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. And trust me, I've been there and it's not fun. But it takes some adapting as well. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comments. Make sure to check out the career mode series that we're running on the channel. It's a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of stress as well, but I greatly appreciate any support we can get over there. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe as well. I'd greatly appreciate that. After the pressure, and I'll see you guys next time.